Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Education and Planning Committee meeting of FLCC today on December 3rd. Diana Hill could not be with us today, so I'm going to chair the meeting. Our first order of business is being welcomed to the Geneva campus by Jeannie, and she's going to give a presentation. So come on up. Thank you very much for having us tonight.
Well, as Cheryl gets that up, I'll just keep it moving. So on the agenda tonight, we're going to talk about partnerships we have here at the Geneva Campus Center. We're also going to talk about enrollment here and a grant opportunity that came to us, and also a little bit about how SUNY Reconnect has impacted the our campus center here. So right now we have 3 partnerships. So we have MOUs, memorandums of understanding, or contracts with Geneva Reads, which is a nonprofit here in Geneva that provides free books to children. So they're out and about. You can see them in the Saturday market, and their headquarters are here. We're also the location for a 4-county EMS council. So 4 counties are located here. The office is right down the hall. So I always tell people, don't get nervous if you see an ambulance here. There's lots of ambulance that come through here. And then we also have a newer partnership with Ontario County, the ARC. They do a day rehab program here. So they have about 15 students with us that are adults. So they have their buses that come and go every day, and we're happy to have them as neighbors. So next slide. So this is just a quick snapshot of who we have at the campus center. Right now we have 93 students during the day that attend in person. And at night we have 48 students. So right now we hold classes on Monday and Thursday nights. And that is for our EMCR classes, which are paramedic and EMS. Next slide. So the Geneva campus has been working on a new grant called Early College High School, which is with Geneva and Waterloo schools. And what this program provides is for students to gain anywhere from 20 to an associate's degree during their time in high school. So they start out on these pathways in 9th grade, and they start taking Gemini classes, which are FLCC classes in the high school. And then by the time they're juniors, they're going to start coming here next fall. So we're very excited to welcome them. There's going to be 65 from Geneva and another 20 from Waterloo. So we're going to have 85 new students coming at us. So we're very excited about that. And we're trying to program and get the right classes in for their right pathway. And we're hoping to make that all become a reality for the fall semester. They also, over the summer, had a 2-week orientation. So they were able to attend a lot of different colleges throughout the region. They went to Northeast College, they went down to Cornell, they visited HWS. So they spent a week at the main campus with the FLCC. So they were really exposed to a lot of different opportunities in the area. So we're going to hold that 2-week opportunity again this summer. So we're excited to have, and they also took a class during that time. They took a class that Cheryl actually teaches, but she didn't teach that particular class. It was CFC 134. So it's a computer science class that was a 1 credit hour. So they were able to get credits in while doing an orientation.
Okay, next slide, please.
So I'm sure everyone's familiar with SUNY Reconnect. I just wanted to talk about it briefly and give a high-level overview of SUNY Reconnect and how it's impacted the Geneva Campus Center in particular. So this is for anyone ages 25 to 55 years old. They can't have already earned a degree, and it's in one of our 15 high-demand degree programs. So we saw, I helped advise over the summer, and we saw a huge uptick, which I'm sure you're going to hear about that later, of new students coming at us because of SUNY Reconnect. It's a great opportunity for adults to come back and become educated. So next slide. So for us, we have really seen an increase in paramedics. So paramedics is housed here at the Geneva Campus Center. So that's one of the 15 in-demand degrees that is being offered through SUNY Reconnect. So it was decided that we're going to offer a second cohort for paramedics starting in the spring, which is January. So now we'll be open again 4 nights a week, which hasn't happened since COVID. So we're very excited to be open again to full capacity. So we also have also offered some credit-bearing courses during those evenings to help increase enrollment. So that is all I have. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them. Okay, great. Oh, yes.
So, I mean, I really like those early numbers for 2 high schools. I mean, that's phenomenal. You know?
Yeah, Geneva has been doing a great job at recruiting.
And what a great way to. It's going to ultimately not only increase associate and potentially baccalaureate, but it's also going to, I think, I'm convinced that this will really increase persistence in that transition year, like that freshman year of post-secondary of college, whether it's at FLCC or John Fisher or Keuka or Cornell. You know, that's a very, very critical transition period. And these kinds of programs, in my opinion, from experience, really support and stabilize and just all the different orientation activities and onboarding that you're doing with this is remarkable. And the numbers speak for themselves.
It's more than half the class for each grade level. So we're really seeing, like in Geneva especially, it's just becoming a part of the culture there. And I think we'll only see it grow in the future.
Yeah, and there's going to be such in the next generation, if the 20-year capital program of Micron in Clay, New York becomes a reality, there's going to be a lot of demand in this area right here. Western Ontario County, Seneca County, Cayuga County is going to be really targeted, you know, as the western part of Onondaga. So it's to be ready, to have that kind of workforce, to have that preparation and those kinds of opportunities, and that skill level is very exciting.
Yeah, we're very excited about it. And they've been great partners. We meet with them every week and talk about all the things that could happen, from textbooks to, you know, having their computers ready, all the things that they're going to need, and socially being ready to leave the high school and come over here.
Yeah, social dynamic is a strong determinant. Goes right along with the academic part. Is it you're feeling good, and you've got partnerships, and you've got friends, and you've got cohorts, associates, you're going to do well.
Yeah, and it's at no cost to the families, which we really like, because the grant's paying for everything, so it's really good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Is there any chance that this could move to other schools?
So it's a state program that is in other schools right now. I'm not sure of all the schools it is throughout the state, but I'm not sure locally. I know that we've been talking about it a lot in different platforms, and I know some schools like Seneca Falls might be interested. You know, we're definitely generating some buzz about it, and Geneva keeps talking about what a hallmark it is for them as well. So we're getting some good feedback.
That's good. Rich, did you have a question?
Yes, with all the work that's gone into building usership in this building, I'm really excited that this campus center is now starting to look like what we had hoped to have it look like back when it was built. So I'm very excited about that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we're excited about what happens here too. And it's a nice mix. It's not just traditional students, you know, we're seeing older students come back, and at night, a lot of the EMS students and paramedics are older and they're working during the day and then coming to school at night. So we're able to fulfill that as well.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, and thank you for hosting us.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. All right, next on our agenda, review the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes of November 5th? Okay, seeing none, I will move on to Carol Davis for an update on enrollment.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Carol.
Good afternoon.
Early happy holidays, maybe not so early since Thanksgiving was so late. So the fall enrollment report that's in your packet is the last fall report for fall 2025. So I have no update regarding that, but I do have our first report regarding spring numbers. So as of last Friday, spring enrollment excluding Gemini, obviously, since registration has not begun, and non-credit state aidable, headcount is up 11.8%, and FTE is up 9.9%.
9.9.
Yes. And obviously, we have a ways to go, so, but all indicators are very positive.
Questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
These, you notice with the other, sort of being driven by part-time students.
Yes, so full-time, and this is excluding all dual enrollment students, so even dual enrollment students who may be registered for our credit courses at one of our 4 locations. Full-time enrollment, as of last Friday, is 1,039, and it's up 4.9%. And part-time enrollment is at 765, and it's up 25%. So, exactly.
Anyone else? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to have a presentation on student success, and Jeff and Alexis are here today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Coming up.
Good afternoon, everybody. Evening, it seems like already.
Yes.
It happens quickly. My daughters let me know, Daddy, it's time for bed. No, it's 5 o'clock. It's dinner time. You can eat. It's okay. I'm Jeff Dugan. I'm the Assistant Director of Online Learning, and I'm here with Alexa Pianta, our instructional designer in the Online Learning Department. We're very excited to talk about an initiative that we've been working with the Provost's office on, and just a big shout out to Dr. Ortiz. Thank you so much for your support of this and bringing kind of this up to the highest level to talk about. It's a really exciting initiative to talk. Thank you so much. I think I know how this works. Nope, I don't. Hold on. There's a button. Look at that. Okay. So this initiative is course quality improvement. All right. We're talking about online courses specifically. Looking at, we already are leaders in SUNY in online education, and we need to maintain that. Post-COVID, based on the changing landscape of online education report, if you're ever interested, it comes from Quality Matters, and actually teach a class on online learning and adult online learning. We use this report as our benchmark in the class at a graduate level. But according to the 2025 report, at a high level, there is just a gap between sustainability and quality in online learning. Believe it or not, COVID is far enough away, they're starting to get foggy to remember the times of everybody shifting to online. But the standard has to be held that we have. And we use a process here, and we'll talk a little about the Oscar rubric, which comes from SUNY and is validated by OLC. And it is a really excellent tool to make sure that we're holding a standard, but we needed a systematic cycle. We needed something that is systemic and able to be used on a regular pattern to know that these courses are getting looked at every year. Because there are courses that have been offered since 1999 and haven't been looked at yet. So they need a chance to be taken a look at. So what we have been doing, Alexa and our team gets ad hoc faculty interest. Maybe there's a concern from the department. We come and look at a course, but that was, by interest. We were getting quite a bit done that way, but we needed to move to a systemic system. And that is our plan. That is what we've built here. So really quick on Oscar, like I said, it actually is a homegrown from SUNY. A lot of institutions use this actually to throughout SUNY as a tool to ensure there's objectivity in a subjective area, right? So when Alexa comes into a classroom in a learning space, she's not the be-all end-all expert we have of necessarily the subject matter. But this tool, this rubric, allows her to engage with faculty on an expert level with the design of their course. And myself before it, and we've been using this tool for about 10 years. So Ryan before me was also using this. Ryan McCabe was able to go through and help faculty understand this. And again, like I said, because we're leaders at SUNY, myself and Ryan before me have actually participated in growing this rubric and helping build it to meet needs like regular substantive interaction, which is a requirement from state aid to ensure that online learning is at quality. So it's something that we've participated in and helped grow at SUNY as well. Really quick, and then I'm going to let Alexa talk about the kind of a little bit more of the implementation. We did select the courses based on enrollment and high DFW. So if students are not as successful in these courses and there are large enrollment, we want to tackle those first. Get those bigger projects out of the way and make sure that these courses that are also gateway courses into specific programs, and maybe if they're not exactly gen ed, they are gateways in the non-traditional sense here at Finger Lakes. We want to tackle those first and make sure that those are taken care of. So that's going to start in the spring. We're going to take our first cohort on. Really excited to get started. And something that I haven't mentioned yet that I want to talk about in our approach is it's not just my team. We recognize that online learning is not big enough to handle this all on our own, honestly. And honestly, we have great practitioners of online education right in our institution. All of our instructors that have been teaching in this modality for decades now have incredible expertise. So we are going to set up a plan to train folks to become reviewers of online courses through an Oscar training program that's already set up through SUNY. So Alexa's gone through it. I've gone through it. We have been baptized to say you can now teach other people how to do this. And so we are going to take that initiative and bring it to our institution. This is done already at Buffalo State University. It's a very similar model where peers are able to engage with each other and really make the quality process feel less about compliance and more about professional development, growing as educators, which is something that we've heard called for years in the CTL. They want to have that collaboration. The process will only be about 8 weeks, so we can run 2 sessions of these reviews every semester, which means that we can get through them fairly quickly. And we'll have a bunch of support from our department, but again, it will be really nice to have the faculty there as part of it as well. So I want Alexa really quick to talk about our implementation, the 2-course model we want to offer, and we'll wrap up here in a second. But Alexa, please tell us about the courses you developed for us and what your plans are.
Thank you, Jeff. So the first course is the Introduction to Oscar and Quality Improvement. Both of these courses are asynchronous trainings that faculty can take online through Brightspace. The first course will tell you about the foundations of the Oscar rubric, along with the course Quality Improvement Initiative and how that ultimately works for those who want to become Oscar reviewers. In this training, faculty will be able to ask questions about best practices, reflect on Oscar criteria, and they will be able to, consider becoming an Oscar reviewer. In addition, this will give them a personal investment into becoming Oscar reviewers and allow them to better and effectively tackle Oscar reviews for their peers after completing this course. Furthermore, it will also allow them to be aware of what course quality looks like at FLCC, along with the institutional language that is featured there as well. In addition, they will then take the second course right after the first, becoming an Oscar reviewer. This course will take that foundational knowledge and build upon it, where those who have decided, I'd like to become an Oscar peer reviewer, how can I get this done? Will then take that course and follow that training as well. This training will include real-life examples of Oscar courses on what is effective and ineffective in terms of course design. It will also have them work through an Oscar review on one of their own courses, so this way they understand how to conduct an Oscar review, how to write the action plan, and furthermore, how to communicate it with other faculty in their department. In addition, this will also show them the expectations of becoming a full-fledged Oscar reviewer.
Yeah, thank you. Just to add on to that, we are absolutely going to be working with SUNY to validate that they will be reviewers. That will be something that we can have as a credential for our faculty as well to share. So again, this is all in the eyes of collaboration and professional development. This is a wrap up. Again, the benefits of this process is that students will have a more consistent, high quality online learning experience. That is something we are striving for. I believe as an offering, we've done so much to get a large set of classes. Now we need to polish them up, make sure they're good, and keep them that way, keep them high quality. This also does help us improve accessibility. As you know, Title II is a big change that's coming that we're facing and heading on directly, but this will let us be systemic with that. There we go. Thank you, Ed. That's just for you, sir. I appreciate it. And of course, better course design means better course completion, right? And again, for our institution, it's proactive quality assurance. We're keeping up the standard, and we're making sure that faculty are in that process. We will direct it. We will make sure that it is happening, but we want them to come along and be part of the community of it. It'll be a cultural change as well. We'll look forward to coming back in here and telling you how it's going. So if you want to have us back, we'll do that. But any questions or comments for us? Please, yes.
I guess ultimately you just sort of suggested it's the student success rate
Yes,
is going to be the key indicator.
correct.
Can you talk a little bit about how you plan to track that and be able to identify, are we benchmarking against other colleges within the SUNY system? We're benchmarking against, obviously we do it against ourselves.
Right.
How do we stand right now? Where do you see it going?
Like I said, we are leaders in SUNY, and having this, as far as retention numbers, I refer to my colleagues at APCI, and we will absolutely take looks at what is necessary, but we are of the first community colleges to follow this model. So this is a best practice model that comes from SUNY and our review systems for them. We're the first community college to try this and at a level, so it'll be interesting to see how we lead and what happens based on that. Please.
And we do currently track student success by modality.
Yep.
So we do have our baseline data established. In terms of benchmarking with other institutions, I do not believe that we have done that, but it's not around those data. Because those data are not available.
The one thing that was, you all were briefed about this, and you have better numbers than I, but you all agreed about a year ago, the average success rate of the online programs overall was about 4 or 5% percentage points below the face-to-face, which was pretty darn good concerning the difficulties we have with online education versus face-to-face. It was a pretty good number. I don't remember the exact number, but it was around 4 or 5% points below, maybe even less.
And that's a jump from 30%, Dr. So there's usually a 30% gap between the two, and we've closed that gap already with some of the, again, I speak the quality of the faculty teaching the courses. That presence is what matters, and we've been working with that in our department, but this will hopefully, I'm not trying to outpace a face-to-face place, but it's a benchmark for us, definitely. We want to make these a very engaging experience for students. Other questions? Yeah, please.
Is Oscar a marketable credential when recruiting out-of-state and international prospective students? Does it have credibility?
It's a good question. So OLC through I forget which Florida university that is through, Oscar is a noted standard, but stands for Open SUNY, Course Quality Review, so it is a SUNY standard. So I think that that may not be the direct concern, but we can point to a lot of other features that come from this, like UDL comes directly from the implementation of that, so Universal Design for Learning. And also in this process, because we're touching 205 sections of courses. This is what we offer, right? Our offerings. We'll touch HighFlex as well. So this will also increase HighFlex courses and make them more higher quality as well. So by strengthening our online, we are strengthening a lot of the other initiatives of the institution.
I'm just curious, you know, the prospective student signs into FLCC website, if they're going to get the idea that these are credible and high-quality programs.
Absolutely, and putting that banner, it already looks like a little stick, we can put that on there, absolutely. Oscar certified, that can happen, so absolutely we can.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Thank you.
please.
And Jeff, just to clarify, the Oscar rubric was adapted from Quality Matters.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
So I think Quality Matters is sort of the gold standard, like globally, nationally, globally.
Yeah.
But I do think we could draw that parallel and have that seal of quality on those courses that have met the standard.
Yeah. That was fun.
So as you implement this and you start to get results from the first few analysis that you do, obviously you report that internally, so, because we're gonna use it.
Absolutely.
But do we have to report the results externally to anybody, to SUNY or to anybody else? Or we're just doing this for,
This is us, yeah, this is a homegrown initiative, and like I said, it's multifaceted, not only for quality, but also community building and a lot of other ways to benefit, but no, yeah, I don't believe this plan on being reported out necessarily.
It would be part of our presentation process, because it is required as part of the United States, not to do this per se, but to be reviewing in a systematic way the quality of our courses and to make sure that all modalities are equal and how they serve.
Okay. The Title II reports as well, for accessibility will be part of this as well, yeah. Please.
but that makes it part of a larger assessment as opposed to being its own bullet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't want to get into the weeds, but
Sorry. That's your time now, I think. So,
and I won't, because I love this stuff, because I taught instructional program design
That's right.
at the graduate level in Canisius for years.
Yeah.
So this has a lot to do with design elements and, you know, and what elements. So my overall question is, have you incorporated AI at all to flesh out that instructional program design that can then be used for program evaluation or course evaluation?
Sure, so I was come a long way from teaching you how to use AI to asking me about it now. So yes, this process pairs well with a lot of the initiatives at SUNY that is incorporating AI. In fact, Alexa is on our Fact 2 committee as a rep for AI tutors. That's going to be part of, you know, as we look at touching all these courses, we're going to learn a lot about what needs to be done and what we can systematically implement too across the board. So yeah, absolutely.
It kind of reminds me of, I was one summer I had the privilege and the opportunity to study at Harvard for 6 weeks. And so we had all these different professors every week. And one was a gentleman that did a lot of program evaluation, and his expertise was after school programs. And at Harvard, they developed a model, maybe you're familiar with it, because they applied it to K-12 as well as to post-secondary for instructional program design. And this was a program that would be applicable in a high school or in a school district, anywhere, you know, throughout the world.
Right.
And But the thing that I learned from him is that, there was like a good housekeeping symbol of excellence, you know,
Right.
with this after-school program had gone through all kinds of rigorous, pressure points and pressurizing and field testing. And so he came up with this after-school curriculum that was very easy to implement once, you know, you understood how to deliver it to these, disparate populations in post-secondary.
Yeah,
So anyway, just, that came to mind, the design of this, of Oscar probably was pretty incredible.
yeah, and like I said, I can't wait to come back in a year and tell you how great
Yeah.
it's been, but the system is working so far. We're not reinventing the wheel by any stretch of the imagination, but we are putting it into a system to make it so everybody gets a chance to do it.
Well, yeah, well, the results will piggyback on the design.
Right.
You know, and vice versa. So,
That's right. Thank you so much.
thanks, Jeff.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Thank you both very much. for
Thank you.
your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alexa. Thank you all.
And now we have several sets of resolutions. And Laura, you're going to do all three. All right.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I come before you beginning with the 26-27 full-time faculty reappointment recommendations. I would like to indicate that I identified one error today, and so I'm going to be asking that you consider an amended resolution. But all of these full-time faculty members have been highly recommended by their tenure teams to be reappointed for the following academic year. And it is also with my highest recommendation that they be reappointed. So for our second year reappointments, we have Amy Archie, Mary Carson, Wes Dixon, Laura Engen, Liza Flume, Paige LaBar, Robert Lockmeyer, Stephanie McCann, Jean Rendino, Jake Scott, Chad Sexton, Jennifer Tuttle, and Ronald Wright. So this group and all of these are to be effective with the next academic year. However, this is where the amendment comes in. The first person listed, Nancy Adair in nursing under the third year reappointments. She actually was a January start. So it's actually a second year reappointment, and the effective date would be January 23rd of 26. So I will make that adjustment, so if you would please consider that amendment. But in the third year category, we have Young Cho, Jennifer Dunn, and Maverick Rouse. Fourth year reappointment, Melissa Langworthy. And our fifth year reappointments, David Canos, Sarah Heidebrink Bruno, and Adriana Musedo.
If I see no objections, we will move Nancy Adair to the second year amended.
With the amended date as well.
Amended date,
Yes, thank you so much.
Anybody opposed? All in favor? Okay.
Without objection.
Thank you. Okay, the next item that I have is granting tenure status. So, for me, this is one of the most meaningful parts of serving as the Chief Academic Officer. And that is the opportunity to recognize faculty who have, whose work not only reflects our mission, but also elevates the student and employee experience for everyone at our college. So this evening, I am pleased to bring forward for your consideration a recommendation for tenure for a faculty member whose contributions have had a remarkable and lasting effect on our students and the greater college community. And that person is Associate Professor and Program Coordinator, Tomas Gonzalez. Tomas is the Paralegal and Legal Studies Coordinator and Professor in the Business Department. As some of you know, I had the privilege of being a student of Associate Professor Gonzalez. So I experienced firsthand his care and his intention and the deep expertise that he brings to his teaching. He is also exceptionally strong in inclusive teaching and learning and holistic student success. He brings an attention to detail in terms of how the field is evolving and the workforce needs are evolving. He was one of the first to recognize how AI would be influencing the paralegal profession very early on. And so he works not only to prepare his students, but also to provide them with those personal and professional connections. Which leads me to experiential learning. I think one of his greatest gifts is creating assignments, assessments, and experiences, both inside and outside of the classroom, that are practical, applicable, authentic, real world experiences. Having an externship creates those connections with professional practitioners, which also is in support of their employment. And finally, he is also a very thoughtful leader at the college in terms of the 3 academic pillars. Oh, and I have an addition to mention from Dr. Covington. But those 3 pillars are curriculum, instruction, and assessment. And so curriculum in terms of course design, which we just experienced, our paralegal program is fully online. So that is one of the hallmarks of his work. Also strengthening that curriculum to make sure that it is rigorous and relevant. His teaching practices are very student-centered. And in terms of assessment, he also serves as an assessment coach. So he works not only for himself, but also for others, teaching how to use assessment data to improve teaching and learning and also program quality overall. And Dr. Covington was mentioning that he has also served as one of our first, he is our first Prodigy mentor. So 2 of the faculty that we just reappointed to their 2nd year are our Prodigy Plus faculty, and Tomas Gonzalez serves as a mentor for one of them. So with that being said, it is with genuine pride and complete confidence that I respectfully recommend the approval of tenure for this exceptional faculty member. Tomas's dedication, integrity, and impact make him an invaluable part of FLCC's future. Thank you. And my final resolution is a discontinuance of the AS mathematics program. And that is simply, we're not discontinuing mathematics. It is a critically important discipline, and it is very much required in, I believe, all of our programs in one way or another. But it is a support discipline, and so as a major itself, it did not have the enrollment to sustain, and our students are still able to progress through the math sequence, through the AA and liberal arts. So that is why we are submitting for the discontinuance and your consideration thereof.
Questions? Rebecca or Tracy? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna now have our strategic thought, which is on enrollment. And, Dr. Kelly Davis will be joining us again with Dr. Orloff.
Everyone. It's the spinal file, right? Yes, one with 2 files. It's really fun. Trying to file slowly.
All right. Now let's see if the clicker's gonna work. Okay, well, it's doing something. I didn't click it. That's a little disturbing, but we'll see how it goes. All right, hi, everyone. Great to see you here. We're here in December, as we often are, just to do a moment and talk about where enrollment is with the sort of official fall comparison. And today we're also going to look to the degree we can at some of the trends that we're seeing over the last few years. I'll point that out as we go. And then my colleague, Dr. Abatis, will join me here once we get through some of the numbers and trends to talk to you about the tactics that have been used to get us to this point, and I'll look forward to what's next. So every year, we give you this very pretty graphic. I think it's very pretty. Not everyone gets as excited about graphics as me, which does a comparison with all of our SUNY brethren, community colleges. And every year, if you've been playing along, you know that I say, now I want everyone to be careful, because remember, this is just a year-to-year comparison. So all they're doing is saying, this is that percent change since last year. So while it's helpful, and we want to look at it every year, and it's a good benchmark, it's really just saying, what's the change from last year? And that can sometimes be deceiving if, for example, a college experienced a really big increase or a really big decrease in one of those years. It really throws off this comparison. So it's helpful, but it's not the end-all be-all of comparisons. We want to keep that in mind. So as you can see, not surprising, as you've been getting regular enrollment updates from Dr. Abatis, we're definitely holding our own and doing quite well in comparison to those when we look at this year versus last year. But the overall story that I think is really important is how steady our enrollment has been. So while we see this as a 6.5% increase over last year again, the thing that I think is more interesting is this number here. We're up 15.2% over the past 5 years, which actually ties us for second, if we're keeping score, with the other community colleges. And potentially more important is this number, we're up 7.7% over since 2018. And the reason you're going to hear me going back to this number 2018, or this year 2018 a few times, is that allows us to look in at pre-COVID numbers. I know you have all heard me tell you basically every single time I've talked to you about data trends, that we have to be really cautious because COVID numbers are not typical numbers. And so when we have those sort of in the mix, it messes everything up a little bit. So it's really helpful to sort of skip back when we can and say, okay, what does this mean over that figure? So throughout our presentation and time together today, when possible, if the trend is data that we have and we can go back, I've taken it back there so that we can see that pre-COVID number as well. Overall, what this tells us is our enrollment has increased somewhat since 2018, has increased somewhat certainly since the last 5 years, but it's been really steady. It hasn't gone up and then down and then over here. It's been steady and successful. That doesn't mean it hasn't changed. It doesn't mean we are serving the exact same students we were in 2018 or in 2021 or even to some degree last year. And that's part of what we're going to talk about today. Any questions on that? Okay, oops. So the big thing that I want to talk a little bit about today, which we've been talking about, and this is not a big shock to anyone in this room, is that part-time enrollment is sort of the big story here, right? When we look at that 8-year time period that I was just talking about, and I just said, doesn't mean we're serving exactly the same students that we were 8 years ago. This is the biggest shift, is we have more students attending part-time, and that trend is consistent. When we first started seeing it, it wasn't clear. Is this a one-time thing? It also increased during COVID, which for all the reasons I just mentioned is something we had to be suspect of. But now we really have very steady data that is saying that more and more students are choosing to go part-time. And that's good and great if those students are getting their needs met, but it also comes with a host of realities, which we've talked about before, where you aren't necessarily having as many resources to serve those students, and those students oftentimes actually need more resources, right? They're often juggling work. They're doing a lot of things that part-time students do. They're oftentimes coming in with other economic disadvantage issues, all of those types of things that we want to be really cognizant of. So we're not going to necessarily talk about all of those different types of things today, but we want to be aware that while our enrollment is steady, it doesn't mean we're serving the same students. And because of that, the needs of those students changes over time. Adult learners, in part because these two things play together, right, with more part-time students, that's in part because we've seen a real increase in our adult learner population. And a lot of that is also because that was identified as an area we were underserving. Dr. Bates is going to talk more about that, so I won't go into that. But the idea was set that we need to serve the students who are adult learners more, and we see that as a successful trend in these data. And then dual enrolled high school learners have been a steady and to some degree increasing part of our enrollment during this same time period. So while we're serving older students more, we're also serving not necessarily younger, but students who are dual enrolled. Now, dual enrolled does mean Gemini, which we often refer to, but it also refers to students who come and take all of their classes for us, such as the ones that you were talking about who are in a early college scholars program or other alternative programs where they're dual enrolled in high school. So it's not only Gemini that we see that increase in. Okay, so overall, just sort of beginning to look at that trend, full-time is blue, part-time is green. And that gives you a really steady sense of that number going up and essentially changing the overall composition of the college over time. Okay, so just to sort of
put a fine point on it, we do see a minor increase in our full-time, right? It hasn't gone down, but that's not where the story is. All enrolled means that that's looking at our non-matriculated students as well. Part-time, we look at not including Gemini, big increase. And then when we look at all of our dual enrolled or non-matriculant, again, all students, we see that as an upwards trend too. So to put a fine point on it, part-time has become really important. So when we look at what this means for the type of students we're having, the other thing that we always look at is enrollment status. Are they new students to us? Are they transfer students to us? Are they continuing students, or are they returning students? Returning students means they stopped out and have come back, okay? The only one that is not an upwards trend is the returning student, which has just sort of gone a little bit up and a little bit down. All of the other areas. So whether it's part-time or full-time, we're still seeing it across all categories. So that means that students are not necessarily only transfer students or only new students. This is a trend that we see in all of our student categories. That means it's sort of more powerful, it's more consistent, and that's why we're seeing it have that larger impact on the makeup of our student body. So when we look overall, this is one that you can miss if you don't look carefully, because our overall transfer numbers are not a huge part of our student makeup, but this has more than doubled. So students coming from other campuses, and I know you're going to ask me which ones, I'll tell you in a second, has more than doubled in 8 years. It's not a huge number, but it's a really consistent trend. And that comes again from tactic and opportunity and reputation, that when making a choice, they're choosing to come here. So it's a trend we want to pay attention to, and then also potentially continue to feed into, to look at, are there other things we can do here? For the most part, there's not a huge runner. It's not necessarily, oh, it's all SUNY Brockport. It's more a little bit here, a little bit there, but both from four-year institutions and from other community colleges. That's one of the big takeaways when you look at the breakdown.
Can you actually just, what is that breakdown? Are more coming from two-year institutions?
I couldn't tell you without looking it back up, and I didn't put it in the slides. It's more from 4 years than 2 years would be my recollection. But it is not, it's literally like two from here, two from here,
Right,
two
right.
from here.
Versus Memorial,
Yeah.
it's more the 2 year versus 4 year that's, I think, more important for us.
Yeah, it is more 4 years than 2 years, but I couldn't tell you how close it is without having the number.
Are you keeping track of Ontario County residents coming back relative to transfers from other?
I wouldn't necessarily say we're keeping track of it, but we have those data points,
Okay.
yeah. We know if it's an Ontario County resident. Okay, so age is also an impact here, and also to a certain degree what in the biz is sometimes called a comorbidity, meaning that because we have more part-time students and because we have more adult students, we see that the age of our students is going up, right? But this does also help us a little bit in looking at where we're really seeing a big increase, right? So we're really seeing quite a bit. I'm going to quiz you in a second about why you think this number here is bigger, the 1 year trend for students over 34. But this 5-year trend is remarkable, right? That's a very large increase in 5 years for students over 34. And again, this was deliberate. There were deliberate actions taken. So that has borne out to be a very successful strategy. 1-year trend. Any guesses?
Displaced workers.
Both and. I heard, did you say SUNY Reconnect? Yes. Displaced workers who are taking advantage of SUNY Reconnect. So that's what we're hearing from a lot of other colleges as well. We don't know fully yet, but that's most likely what's contributing, at least to some degree, to that number. All right, so program enrollment trends. This is not a new story. These are the major areas that we have seen increases in, and the SUNY Reconnect is also in these areas, so that has further increased where we are already over many years have seen that these areas tend to be our multi-year gain area. They are also areas that we have strong online programming or high flex programming in. So access remains incredibly important. How students can get to their education impacts what these numbers are. The main thing that is also a huge piece of this is continuing education. That means non-matriculated students who are taking a few courses or coming here in the summer. That has been expanded quite dramatically, and so we see that going forward. The high demand healthcare STEM adult friendly workforce, we saw it early, but it has, as we look over 8 years and 5 years, this is extremely consistent. And then in the last year, because of SUNY Reconnect, we've seen an explosion in those areas. Explosion might be a bit of an overstatement, but it's multiplied an existing trend. So, couple of things just to point out. As you'll notice, some of these numbers and percentages are quite large, right? I think, and Dr. Nye will appreciate this, you don't always just want to look at the percentage, right? You want to also look at the numbers.
Yes, please.
Sim knows. But regardless, both pieces of information are helpful to analyze this. And these are some of our larger programs to begin with, so you see these larger numbers. This one here was already a huge increase. When we put this into the SUNY online program, we saw a rebirth into our engineering program. You all have heard about that before. But look at this 1 year gain, right? That's where we see adult students who are taking advantage of, they may not per se be Reconnect, but they were probably inspired by Reconnect to seek out their education. I can't say for sure that they're all reconnected at this point. So you see this in all of these areas. All of these are SUNY Reconnect areas, and so you see that, but you also see this is based on an existing trend. What I think the story here is that our shift to accessibility created an opportunity, and Reconnect is allowing us to expand that opportunity. If we didn't already have those programs there, it wouldn't necessarily have blossomed the way that it did. And then a couple of smaller programs, because these are important gains to look at too. Most of these only have one professor in them, or one professor who's majorly in charge of the students, but you're still seeing really big gains. This one is a huge 1 year gain. We're going to need to watch that and see what's happening there. Some of that is accessibility. More has become available online. It's a very particularly niche area. There's not a lot of American Sign Language online, so we're filling a need and we're creating accessibility.
And a lot of high schools have dropped it from the curriculum.
Yeah, and so now and we have seen that there, and then also just a broader enrollment in general. I was asked in particular, just looking at this idea of adult students. This doesn't necessarily mean SUNY Reconnect, but there is probably a SUNY Reconnect impact. And across the board, you see that these big gains for adults are happening in areas that are workforce ready, online accessible, and for the most part, also part of the City Reconnect program. Okay, so I've already covered this idea, but that overall, that modality of online, that 5-year mark in green is very clear. So accessibility remains critically important.